Welcome to the Pashchim LitCast. We all have stories to tell, narratives that weave through the fabric of our lives. But there are those individuals blessed with the unique talent of not just telling their stories, but bringing them on paper in a way that captivates and enthralls. Today, we have the pleasure of getting into the world of one such individual, a scientist by education, an IT program manager by profession, an avid golfer, and above all, a masterful fiction writer, Prakash Jha. Prakash is the author behind the mesmerizing short stories collection Blushing in Boston. He has traversed diverse landscapes, drawing inspiration from every corner of his journey to craft tales that resonate deeply with readers. So sit back, relax, and prepare to embark on a literary journey filled with intrigue, humor, and perhaps a touch of MC. Prakash, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Who is Prakash Jha, by the way?
So, I have a PhD in microbiology and I am a scientist. I have a lot of publications in very scholarly journal. And then I planned to change my career. So I moved into software engineering. And after a few years there, I thought of let's going into project management. And so currently I'm a program manager. Um, as Maneesh has pointed out, I love golf. I can play all the time if I can. And of course, I do write fiction. And this is my passion and hobby.
So, how did you come up with the concept of this book? When this book was born, or I should say, what is the story behind this book? There are several stories in this book, but what is the story behind this book?
Well, what really happens that most of us, um, we just don't really consider memories of our parents and grandparents into practice. So what really happens that those things which were oral tradition over the years, they get lost. Somebody has to put that into writing so that the generations next to us can also enjoy that. So that was the concept. All these oral tradition, witty stories which you know are there in everybody's life, somebody has to pen it there. And that is the stepping stone for my book there. All stories are small. There are 27 stories in this book. They are 3 pages to 10 pages, 12 pages. But what they catch, there is a distinguished style of writing. And, again, as you said, it is witty. And I want to communicate to, across the different genres, like just want everybody to enjoy that. So it was conceived pretty much in that way that we should carry the memories from our parents, grandparents to our kids through this book and writing. And that I used to write all those different kind of scientific journals, articles there, and those were fine. And when I moved to United States, I was kind of thinking that writing is a good stuff. Over the years I had developed a good way of writing. But the final trigger came in one of the events where the famous Red Sox pitcher, Tim Wakefield, he had a very good line. I was attending one of the conference, and I was not writing fiction because I was thinking I'm in the world of great English writers, literature writers. Do I have a standing? Do I write something? Would anybody read? Can I reflect myself? So I was kind of behind the scenes, not really confident enough to write something for the others to read. And then Tim Wakefield came out with very good line, which I have quoted in my book also. It just simply said that, well, look, see, a deer and a tiger or lion, they all have to go to the same hole to the drink. And deer very well knows that he might get killed, but he still goes there. So this is the way. Then I said, well, that's there. Like big authors are there, big readers are there. So be it. Even I can go and have a small piece to present. And so that brought lot of confidence in me. And thanks to Tim Wakefield, he's passed away, but it was the trigger to write it. And then I gave it to a couple of my colleagues and co-workers by writing a couple of stories. And one of them, who is convent educated, she said that, well, you write pretty well. And she told me that you remind me of a British writer, um, Donald Dahl. And his book, I think probably is called My Extreme or Life or something like that. He also come from rural area and wrote very witty stories. So my colleague said that you remind me of him. I have not read that book. I plan to read that book. But this is how you get the encouragement from others, you get the confidence, and everybody has that hidden talent. It just has to come out.
You are from Bihar.
Yeah.
You are from Bihar. If I say that wittiness is your Bihari blood, Biharis have amazing sense of humor, and they are very witty.
That's there. And of course, my grandfather was a poet himself, like, so he was a good writer. But besides Bihar, I'll give a lot of credit to Delhi,
Oh,
because I was there in Delhi for 14 years doing my BSc, MSc, PhD. Teachers, friends, they bring best in you. And that's what it came out to be. So good writing took over the years, improvising, because once you are young, you make many mistakes, and you don't have any pattern of writing. But that good education, perhaps good encouragement, and sometimes it's good to be surrounded by educated and good people. And that's what a lot of things came up from there.
yeah, no, I agree. And as I said, the craft of writing can be learned. Over a practice. You keep writing. You talk to people. You meet authors. You learn few things from here and there. You read a lot. I mean, you need to read a lot. I was interviewing an author, and she said it's like a riyaz. If you learn an instrument, you keep practicing, you keep doing riyaz. For writing, you need keep reading, and that's how you learn that craft. So now let me let me get back to, and I'll give you a hint on this. Do you believe in ghosts?
Scientifically speaking, no.
So you know where I'm going to.
Yeah. But I'm always one of those types who believes that there could be some energy which either we don't know about it, or maybe we'll in future we'll know. So I do not discount it out. It is 1% chance. It could be there, but I don't believe personally.
So why I brought that point, because one of the stories was probably one of my most favorite stories among all. They are all wonderful, but that was one of my most favorite stories. Your wife is an amazing writer herself. She writes poems. She writes in Hindi, as far as I know. I think she also has a science background. She's also a scientist. And do you have these literary discussions at home? Was there any impact of a poet wife in your fiction writing?
Not really. We have compartmentalized everything. So even when I was scientist, we totally agreed no discussion about science at home. Just do it, because then your personal life gets impacted. But regardless, we appreciate each other's effort. She reads my book, enjoys, has enjoyed. I read her poems and other things, and I appreciate that. Both of us have a very good sort of literary inheritance, if you will. Our grandfathers, they were well known writers and poets. So it has come from both the families. It could be because of, uh, you know, consciously or subconsciously, we have learned from there. And a lot of, whenever you are surrounded by other folks of the similar nature, you get to learn some tricks, and some of those things come naturally to you. So we might have subconsciously influenced each other, but we don't make an effort
But
to.
she was not your editor.
She was not.
Okay. Or you don't edit her poems.
No, because we surprise each other. She's wow, and it's very interesting there.
Okay. Um, so I told you about my favorite story, and this is your book, and these are your babies. All these wonderful short stories are your babies. Which one is your favorite?
Nailing down is difficult, but the one story about snake, which is the largest story, is my favorite.
Yeah, we first of all, I apologize to stop you here, but I don't want you to give any spoilers. But you can touch a little bit upon
The
it, and you can, in your way, you can just explain why that was your.
favorite story is because first of all, I attempted to write on snake. I can tell you one thing, that I'm one of the people, I'm frantic, I'm scared by snake. I don't see them on TV also. I'm
Oh
that
wow!
scared.
Oh
I'm that
really?
scared.
Like
Um,
Indiana Jones.
yeah, I'm really, really scared. But then my mom comes from a family who lives not among the snakes, but very close to that area. Even our farmlands had a lot of snake, but I never used to go there. And the thing is about that, I can just simply tell you, in the real life, mom was never afraid of snake. I and my dad, we were very afraid. So it was very kind of sometimes you has to feel bad that whenever some snake came out and mom will say, okay, let's move it or throw it or kill it or whatever, we, dad and I, used to always run away. And we used to feel bad that, see, we are supposed to protect her, but our fear was such. So this story goes around that, and then so much so that we wanted to have a pet mongoose so that snake is taken care. So these things are really amazing, just to give you a hint there. So those things are brought in very nicely in that story.
Did you try to get away from your fear of snakes through this story, or you said you can't even see the snake, but you came up with a wonderful story?
Well, I was trying to project that we all have our own kind of fears, and we all try different ways to come out of it. Perhaps we never come out of it, but at least make some attempt. And this is, yeah, you are rightly so, that it is something to say that I have that fear, but yet I can make an attempt to get rid of some. It hasn't happened.
You mentioned about your grandparents; they were poets. Can you name them so that we just honor them? And I'm always a huge fan of poetry, and especially poetry from generation before us. My both of my grandparents were poets.
Yeah, my grandfather's name was Krishna Mohan Jha, and his collections were all over. And this also could have been one of the reasons I wanted to write something and put together in a book, because when I visited my village last after he died, everything was put there in sacks, barrels, his written material,
Mm.
and it never got published. So I used to read some of those, but he had the presentation, so he will go in different kind of places where he'll read them out but not write it, or whatever was written wasn't printed anywhere, because back then there was just writing, handwriting
Do
and
you
so
still
on.
have some of
Some of
those
those are still stored in sacks.
in sacks?
Imagine, because over the years, people move, and all this material becomes non-important to many of the youngsters. And my grandfather on my mother's side, he had all the books, like he had the Bible, Quran, Mahabharata, and everything you can relate from every religion, and he used to encourage us to read everything. And he used to tell stories. Okay, I'll tell you a story, one from this, one from that book, so from Bible. So it was really, really amazing that we got that kind of secular kind of concept and a literally teaching from our grandfather.
So Prakash, now we come to the technical aspect of book publishing, right? like me, there are many authors out there. People know their challenges. So, what were your challenges? Um, was this book? Did you find a publisher, or was it self-published? What was the process? Can you get into a little bit of details and the best advices?
So ultimately, I self-published the book through Create Space Amazon. That's one of those very good avenues if you want to publish this. You can really go through different publishers and so on, but that's a longer journey, and it might take 1 to 5 years to get it done. So the choice is there, and also because I knew if it comes on Kindle, it's available to a larger audience. Um, Now, that doesn't mean that I'll be self publishing every time. I'm writing a book currently, which we will go through the process. You have to literally editors, you have to go through. But what I will recommend, being in Boston, I will recommend you that there's a muse kind of MUSE. That's the kind of gathering where all those literary agent, all those authors, they all come annually, and there you can exchange the idea. You can reach out to people, reach out to literary agent. You can have the discussions, and your book may get picked there, or at least you'll get some good ideas where to go from there. there are there is a third way, which sometimes I'm toying with that idea. It's kind of half and half, meaning that, for example, Penguin Publisher, you can go there, you can support them somewhat, like, let's say $1,000 for some copies, and then you can share the cost and you can publish, and they will do help in distribution. So there are all different ways. Again, you have to pick your how fast you want to go, or are you going to go through the grind and get it done.
So, if I understand, if I say so, that if you want to get your content out sooner than later, go Amazon route, go self-publishing route. But if you really want to go to traditional route, but explore these literary gatherings in your city, book festivals, try to connect with the authors. I also kind of spoke to someone, and they said, you know, even you are free to reach out to publishers. You may not want to go to, like, in the beginning, probably with big publishers like Penguin may take more time, but you can also go through a little smaller publisher, take your book, take your manuscript, talk to them, try to go through the agents, and that's a longer way. But if you definitely want your content out, self-publishing is the way forward. Yeah, I mean, thank you for that wonderful insight. So, what would you suggest a person like me who has been planning for this book for like so long, and it's still, somewhere here, but not on paper? Uh, what is the best suggestion you would?
There is no way out. You have to write it down or type it out. My suggestion is that however bad you think it is, whatever, here is the one thing I'll tell you how all these things came together. I used to sit in Boston traffic for hours. So then I started keeping a notebook next to me. I'll write down the pointers. Couple of, I'm listening to NPR. Good points came. I just wrote it down. Now everything,
Amazing.
yeah, everything I put it together, and the whole process may take 4 or 5 years. You might think that you'll publish in 2 days. It doesn't happen. And you will write something, and after 10 days, you will read and you'll say, what the hell I was thinking? Why it is so crappy? So, my advice is that over the years, over 6 months, a year, while you are writing other stories, revisit the stories and rewrite some of them. It is not going to happen that you'll get in one go. I have some stories which have edited 10 times. So that's how everything evolves.
Thank you for that wonderful advice. What you're saying is just keep writing. Whatever comes to your mind, just keep writing. Bring it out on the paper or a computer.
You
Keep
can always
writing.
improve.
It will always improve. You will read. You will reread. You will take suggestions from people. Um, As a tradition, what I also ask our authors is to read some of the excerpts from this book and just give a glimpse of the writing gone into this wonderful piece of paper.
Um, so there are two of them. One is the Hand of Ghost. So I'm reading one, Hand of Ghost. Um, Pisa, my father's distant cousin, was way older than him. Some said he was adopted. No one knew his age and no one cared. Based on a comparison with other cousins and uncles, we estimated his age to be 75, give or take a few years. Villagers considered him almost immortal because he had survived several near death situations. He was the lone survivor of a bus that crashed into a valley. He also came out unharmed from a derailed train while other passengers died or had severe injuries. We had a catastrophic fire in our village in the 70s in which most dwellings and houses perished. Pisa was seen carrying beds and large side furniture single handedly from burning homes and had only minor burns. So I'll just kind of skip some of those. Pisa had also survived attacks from a whole lot of wild animals. There were one occasion when he mysteriously disappeared for a few months after being bitten by a king cobra.
Wow.
Some people swore that he had died from the snake bite and had been cremated. No wonder there was a commotion in the village when he returned. They thought they are seeing a ghost. Initially, I did not believe the story of him surviving a king cobra bite. But after careful analysis, it seemed quite a stretch, but not impossible. I recently found out that if a person died of snake bite in some cultures, he or she was neither buried nor cremated. Instead, the corpse was tied to a raft that would float, typically made of bamboo or banana plant woven with rope, and released into the river. I think there must be a scientific basis behind this ritual. It is quite possible that some kind of snake bite, such as bites through the shoes, may not deliver a high dose of venom. The likelihood that the snake had already bitten somebody that very day and sufficient venom was not produced or delivered in the second bite can't be ignored. Also, villagers may find it difficult to distinguish death from a state of coma or paralysis. So, even trained medical professionals can't easily distinguish rare types of coma and paralysis from death. Floating the presumed dead body in a river would allow the possibility, however remote, of the venom being leached out or being diluted due to fluid exchange by mechanics such as osmosis. So the whole idea is that my stories here are there. There is always some kind of scientific explanation behind them, and it's provided. Like it is not ultimate truth, but there are possibilities are there.
Thank you. And one thing I would want to ask you, the story behind the characters' names.
So the names initially I gave the name generally whatever came to me. Later on, I wanted to honor a lot of people. So whoever was a good character in sitcoms or any other places, I just brought them in as a character.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that so that people when they're reading, they can relate. Wonderful. So what is next?
That's also a collection of short stories, but it has some of them are you have to read it to believe it because again I continue to bring the spirits into the picture and giving some scientific explanation. For example, we will see then when the grandparents or parents when they are dying at the deathbed, they will see their parents or their most important pet, and they will talk to them. And it's really remarkable how this happens in many cultures. And in fact, you will read that it's so strange. And in fact, it is true. Whenever anybody is at the deathbed, they really, really see their closest person, even if they imagine, but they always point out and they talk. So that's one story about that. And in fact, I found um, author who has written in Washington Post a very similar story, and then I realized that wow, how similar it is. So I just want to bring that. There are many other stories uh, about. Again, let me tell you this: they're all based on, like as you mentioned, Manish, that they are based on certain facts. But then this is not our memoir, so we have to fictionalize, we have to bring, and some of the stories may be a combination of five different stories, five different characters, but the question, the thing is that you have to bring them together and present in such a way that is readable and kind of sends a message. So that's the thing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us, um, uh, gracing our podcast. And I wish you best of luck for your next book. And I hope to see you again when your next book is out, and we'll talk about these fascinating stories you're bringing. And I cannot wait to read them. So, friends, this was Prakash Jha, a wonderful writer. See you next time with another exciting episode. We will talk to another author, or we will talk about another author. So, thank you. Namaskar.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Prakash.
much.